Again, my name is Mara Walsh. I'm in the United States and specifically between Philadelphia and New York. I say this because it's in the Eastern time zone. And if you are trying to convert your time when you see the postings, please know that we're using New York time, Eastern time. So you'll want to put, what time is it in London when it is 5 o'clock in New York, and then you'll get your time for London. When we're not traveling virtually, I host group tours on physical tours, as well as help others plan their own family and group vacations. Don't let the name Girl Travel Tours fool you. We welcome everyone on our tours, not just girls. The name came about because I started leading my physical tours with EF Tours as a Girl Scout leader. But now I lead tours for ages teens through senior citizens using many tour operators. I have adult-only tours as well as multiple age tours. But when COVID struck, we were unable to travel physically. So I started traveling with my tour guide friends virtually. Because I really wanted to support the tour director community during this time of travel restrictions where they have been unable to work. And I really wanted to keep the excitement of travel alive for my travel group and also extend that opportunity to those of you who've learned about us through Facebook, your family, your friends. I really appreciate hearing the feedback and how much of you have enjoyed these tours during the last 2 years. And thankfully, these virtual tour presentations have served both purposes very well. We've done about 70 tours since COVID started. If you want to access any of the recordings, they are all available on my website and my YouTube channel, girltraveltours.com, and also the Facebook page. We have several more tours planned for this coming year. Many of them are listed on my website and you're able to sign up for them at this time. And we are adding more and more as we go along. Right now, I have a few that are ready for registration. Shanghai is next week's tour. Stonehenge will be back with George for that one. We're going to do a Scottish tour that focuses on the regions with the distilleries, which is pretty much all over Scotland. That will be Austin. We will be back with Vlad for Bucharest, Romania on the 25th of January. Then we're going to head over to Italy for Piedmont, back to the United States, where we're going to explore the canyon country with the U.S. national parks. We're going to do Lake Como, which I believe I spelled wrong on the slide, and I apologize. It does not have a U. Madrid, and then Slovenia. And I am talking to guides all over the world, so we will continue to add more destinations as they come up. As long as you're interested in viewing these virtual tour presentations, we will continue to produce them. And just a quick heads up regarding the Facebook scammers that are charging people for a link to join the tours. If you paid for a link to join this virtual tour, you should not have. So please know that the person that asked you for that money is probably collecting your credit card information for to use in some way that I can't even imagine. But please report the person who requested the charge. Of course, you are here on your free will, and if you choose to leave a tip for the guide later on in the presentation, that is up to you. But you should not have paid for access to this tour. Okay, I want to review a few ways for you to interact with us during this presentation. Feel free to ask questions about the tour director, or my travel program by using the Q&A link in the Zoom toolbar, or obviously post on Facebook in the feed. We will have a Q&A live after the presentation session with the guide, and we will address all the questions that we can that come in through that module. You can also chat with me through the chat feature, and I'll do my best to answer those chats after the introduction. And as always, I'm going to launch an interactive poll. This gives us an opportunity to understand what your connections are with where we are going today, which is the Christmas markets of Europe. And this gives you an opportunity to tell us that you have been and loved it, you have a trip booked, you plan to go in the future, I have no set plans, but I'm interested in the location, or I am solely interested in experiencing it virtually. As many of you know, I have a trip booked. We have a really good, great big group of people who are going to embark on an Alma Waterways river cruise, and we're going to see many of the most famous Christmas markets next December. If you want to join us, please reach out and let me know so that we can get one of those. We only have, I think, about 6 cabins left. So if you're interested, please let me know. So I think I've given enough time for most people to answer the poll. It looks like most people have no set plans. So that means there's not a lot of people on this virtual tour that are coming with me tomorrow, next year. But it does look like we have a handful of people who have a trip booked. And we always have some people who've been and loved it, and they're coming back to rekindle that that passion they had when they were there themselves. So I'm going to end the poll and share the results with you so that you can see. Looks like about 40% have no set plans but are interested in the location, and we have about 16% that have been. So I will guarantee you that those odds, we should always do the poll at the end again and then compare the two, because it always seems like we have people who say, you know, oh, I'm just interested in the location, but I really don't want to go. But then after the tour that we do, the virtual tour, they're like, oh, never mind. It's on my bucket list. I need to go there now. So let us move forward. If the poll does not go away for you, if it's still up, just hit the top red dot so that it disappears and you're not seeing the poll anymore. Today's tour, like all of our tours, are scheduled for 90 minutes plus a Q&A. So I hope you're ready with a little mulled cider, not a drink this time or a snack, but how about a little cup of hot chocolate or mulled cider to go through our journey of the Christmas markets of Europe. And as you know, a tour would not be complete without a fantastic tour director. We are lucky to have back Georgiana today with us, who also has led us on several virtual tours in the past 18 months. So feel free to go back and visit one of her old tours on recording. I will share with you via chat and during the Q&A how you can tip the tour guide. If you appreciate this presentation and our guide's knowledge, there are several ways you can tip using Venmo, PayPal, and a secure website for credit cards. And then if you'd like to send me a check in the mail, you can do that as well. I can send you an address for you later on through chat. So today I want to welcome back Georgiana on this very special day. Welcome, Georgiana. I hope you've had a wonderful day today, full of celebration, and you are ready to share with us the Christmas markets of Europe. If you're ready, you can come on, take your controls, and I will hand over the event to you. How are you doing? It's nice to see you again as usual.
Hi, Mara. Hi, everyone. I am actually trying to share my screen, but I am not allowed.
Allowed? Well, guess what? I'll give you some of the rights to do that. How about that?
Yes. How is everyone doing tonight? It's so good to be back on another virtual tour. Let's see. Yes, I want to continue. Perfect. I'm back online. Okay. All right. Perfect. So, hello again, everyone. Good evening. My name is Georgiana. As you know, you might have seen me before in Mara's virtual tours. We have done quite a few together, but if it's your first time ever attending an event with Mara, let me present myself very quickly. So I'm Georgiana. I'm a Romanian tour guide, but tonight I want to take you on a tour through Europe. So not just Romania, a little bit of Romania too at the end too, but because it's Christmas, because it's the holiday season, and it's my last virtual tour for 2021, it had to be festive, and today is my birthday too. It's always a very interesting birthday because it's between Christmas, it's between New Year's Eve, and I'm always celebrating for days continuously. So tonight I want to celebrate with you by sharing the festive spirit of Europe through its Christmas markets, right? Because I think a large part of European attraction during wintertime are the Christmas markets. So I will take you through a journey through 6 of the biggest European Christmas markets and also share with you your beloved winter traditions and the stories behind them, because some of them might be really, really surprising. Now, the way I decided to structure this tour is through the carol, right? The 12 days of Christmas. And you should be ready for, the 12 days of Christmas have already started. This is the carol that I'm talking about. If you've never heard of it, we'll talk more during the Q&A session about it, but it's pretty much, it's a repetitive song with very interesting lyrics. And these lyrics all have a symbolism that I am going to talk about. The 12 days of Christmas, it's actually the period between Christmas, the Christmas day, and Epiphany, or the 6th of January, or the baptism of Christ. Some people call this period of time the little year, as it is a miniature cycle that symbolizes the 12 months of the year to come. The first mention of this carol actually dates back to 1780. Now, I did tell you that I'm going to take you through 6 different Christmas markets, and those markets are, the presentation, is the presentation still good?
Yes, it is for me.
Okay. So I am going to take you on a journey from France all the way to Romania. We'll start in Strasbourg. Do follow my arrows here on the map, right? So Strasbourg is in eastern France. Then we are going to go to Nuremberg. From Nuremberg, we are here in Prague in Czech Republic, Salzburg, and then Vienna. 2 Austrian Christmas markets, very beautiful. And then all the way to Bucharest, the capital of Romania, where we'll finish off our tour. So I did tell you that it's going to be structured for each day. So then we are going to start with the 25th of December, right? Christmas Day. We'll visit Strasbourg Christmas Market. On the 26th of December, I will tell you a little bit about the Christmas tree that everyone has in their living room and how it started, its tradition started. On the 27th of December, of course, we are talking about a virtual itinerary. So imagine that you are through Europe, right? And you're visiting this Christmas market yourself. So yesterday, you should have been in Nuremberg Christmas Market. On the 28th of December, we'll talk about mysterious Christmas characters. 29th of December, Prague Christmas Market. 30th of December, my favorite part, we'll talk about food and drinks and special treats for Christmas and holidays. On the 31st of December, we'll visit Salzburg Christmas Market. 1st of January, the first day of 2022, we'll speak about New Year's predictions. These are traditions, customs on how you can predict the future or how your new year is going to be. The 2nd of January, we'll visit Vienna Christmas Market. On the 3rd of January, we'll talk about weird masked animals dances and their symbolism, especially in Eastern Europe. On the 4th of January, we'll visit our last Christmas market, and that's Bucharest Christmas Market. And on the 5th of January, we'll speak about the baptism of Christ and some interesting customs related to this very big celebration. But first, as Mar said, if you have the opportunity, do get a mulled cider, or more preferred in Europe is the mulled wine, right? This is a photo taken from a Christmas market. They normally prepare the mulled wine in really large cauldrons. They'll add some sliced apples to it, maybe sliced oranges, aniseed, whatever condiments they want to use. And if you cannot have wine, then hot tea works with the same condiments as well. If you haven't had the chance to get a drink in your hand, I decided to share a recipe with you to help you in the future, or maybe if you want to watch this tour again next year. So it's just a small recipe. If you get the chance to screen this slide, if not, I'll share it again during the Q&A. But as you can see, the ingredients can differ. You can add black peppercorns into the wine or into the tea, honey, sugar, bay leaves, cinnamon, apple, whatever you like. It's according to your taste. I think the main thing is to be hot and tasty. Of course, if you've ever attended one of my tours, you do know that I like quizzes. I will share at the end of the tour a quiz where you get the chance to test your knowledge and see if you've learned something new on this tour. And also you get the chance to win a postcard sent directly from me, a Christmas postcard. 3 of the people that will get the highest score on this quiz will receive a written postcard. All right, so you have the wine, you have the itinerary. Let's get right into it. Now, you know, we've been through a pandemic, and Christmas markets, unfortunately, have been one of the most, you know, I don't want to say attacked, but most of them got canceled. So I do have a top here of best Christmas markets in Europe from 2019. That is considered the last normal year, so to say, as far as tourism goes. So you will see that the places, the Christmas markets that we will visit tonight are in this top. Germany and France, of course, they have some of the best Christmas markets. They appear twice. And then we also have Romania. This is a new entry. Sibiu is a smaller town in Transylvania, Austria, Denmark, Sweden, and so on. But before we start with the 12 days of Christmas, I want to talk a little bit about the history of the Christmas markets, right? The origins of the Christmas markets. And you have here a photo of Striezelmarkt, the Christmas market in Dresden. The Christmas market is actually a street market, right? It's associated with the celebration of Christmas during the 4 weeks of Advent. We'll talk about what Advent is a little bit later. These markets originated in Germany, but are now held, of course, in many other countries. A lot of people adopted the tradition of Christmas. Now, their history goes back to the Middle Ages and in many parts of the former Holy Roman Empire. This includes many regions in France too, even though the first one started in Germany. Now, this Christmas market, it is said to have started in 1434, and it is considered the first genuine Christmas market, right? Organized specifically to honor the Christmas traditions, because there are earlier mentions of such markets in places like Vienna, for example. The mention dates back to 1298, or in Munich or in Frankfurt, earlier than the 15th century. However, these were only markets that sold meat, and that evolved into selling seasonal treats, decorations, and crafts. Eventually, when they started being accompanied by dancing and singing, they have also started being associated with Christmas. Now, I did talk about the Advent. The Advent is actually the last 4 weeks that lead up to Christmas, right? It was spent for preparation, in preparation for the coming of Christ child, right? Of the baby Jesus Christ. It starts on St. Andrew's Day, which is the 30th of November, and it finishes on the 24th of December, right? Or the Christmas Eve. That's when we're getting ready for the little year, so to say, or the 12 days of Christmas. The Advent also has a symbol. We have the Advent wreath, or the Advent crown. It's actually a Christian tradition. It symbolizes the passage of the 4 weeks, right, leading up to Christmas Day. It is a Lutheran practice. Now it has, it's spread out to many many other Christian denominations. It is an evergreen crown. It has 4 candles, sometimes 5. The 4 candles symbolize the 4 weeks, right? And you light a candle every Sunday, on each Sunday of one of those 4 weeks. And the 5th candle in the middle represents Jesus Christ. Of course, lighting up the candle, of course, is accompanied by saying a prayer or going to church. Now, I don't know if you knew this, but this is a very interesting story. The Advent crown has actually been invented by a German guy by his name, Johann Vickern. Now, it is generally accepted to have been invented by him in 1830s. He was the director of a Protestant institution, right? So he wasn't necessarily being part of the church or a religious institution. No, he cared for underprivileged children. And he had this idea of restraining the children's pre-Christmas impatience by lighting the new candle each day from the 1st to the 23rd of December with a larger candle, right? The white ones here for each Sunday. And this is what helped the kids to wait patiently for Santa Claus's coming. It was around 1860s that it actually began to take the form of the wreath that I showed you, the smaller one with just 4 or 5 candles. And it does proclaim the victory of light over darkness, right? The defeat of winter by spring. It is this symbolism of light gaining, victory over the darkness comes back with us all the time in Christmas traditions. Now, biblical symbols have also suggested that these 4 candles represent, for example, the 4,000 years of waiting. In fact, other historians have said that the wreath actually goes back to the Hanukkah lamps. Now, also in celebration of the Advent, we do have the Advent calendar, which is quite popular today, but it does not have its origins into the Middle Ages. The first Advent calendar appeared in the 1850s, and they were homemade. They appeared in different shapes and forms, mainly with the 24, varying from 24 lines. They were put up on a wall and you would have to plaster a cardboard, right? So they didn't have the window shape that we are accustomed to today. You're looking at the very first commercial Advent calendar that was published in Munich in 1903. It was only from the 1920s that it started coming in the form with the little windows that revealed an image every day. And it was at the end of the 1950s that chocolates were actually added to these windows for children to discover. Now, you might be thinking, how did the Christmas markets gain so much popularity? And it was actually with the help of this guy on the left, Martin Luther. He was the monk who started the Reformation, right? He suggested that the birth of Christ was actually a more appropriate gift-giving day than other saints' day. Now, if you don't know, when the Protestants decided to separate from the Catholic Church, they considered all saints idols, and that's why they took Jesus Christ as a representative instead of any other saint. Because before this, all of the markets that we've talked about, like the precursors of the Christmas markets that we know today, were called Saint Nicholas markets. We'll see why in just a few moments in the next slides. Now, the practice of gift giving was also started back in the 12th century, and it evolved into being represented during the Christmas day because of the Reformation. Nativity scenes are also very popular and very common. I would say that they are more common in Catholic and Protestant countries than in Orthodox countries, even though, Orthodox do celebrate Christmas too. But there are much fewer Orthodox countries in Europe than Protestant or Catholic. Initially, the nativity scene was started as a liturgical drama with living beings, right? It was started in Italy. After this, the scenes were composed of movable figurines that appeared in churches, and slowly but surely they started to increase in popularity starting with the 19th century and have been adopted by Protestants from the 20th century onward. Much more common in Orthodox countries this time is the Nativity fast. This is a period of abstinence and penance practiced by the Orthodox and the Catholic Church. But I would say that the Orthodox fast is a little bit more severe. If you want to speak more about this, well, we can do so during the Q&A. But just to summarize, a fast, for example, means that you are not eating red meat, poultry, meat products of any kind, eggs, dairy products, fish, oil, and wine. There are certain days when you are allowed to eat either fish, wine, or oil. But for the majority of the time that leads all the way to the Christmas day, most of the Christian will practice the fasting. Now, on the 24th of December, which is the Christmas Eve, it's the night when Jesus Christ was born, right? This marks the high point of the Christmas cycle. Now, the Christmas gathering combines an especially friendly atmosphere with a strong spiritual side, although nowadays is less purely religious, I would say. An essential feature of the Christmas Eve is singing, right? In the Middle Ages, the celebrations for Christmas didn't take place until well after midnight because you would have to go to church. Nowadays, not a lot of people still go to church on Christmas Eve, so the celebration will start around 6 p.m., right? Christmas Eve is the moment when the fasting and the penance that we talked about earlier stops, and that's when you're allowed to eat all of the food and all of the treats that you've carefully prepared, especially for this celebration. Another story related to the Christmas Eve is the fact that animals acquire the gift of speech, and they use that sometimes or most often to complain about humans. Another very friendly habit or tradition is caroling, right? So I have here a photo of Christmas caroling in Maramuresh. Maramuresh is a very traditional region of Romania. I have chosen it because they do have very interesting and very cute traditional costumes. And this practice is still kept alive in this region much more than in other places. Now, caroling, of course, today, if you're in a city, you'll see not just children, but of course, teenagers or younger people too. Traditionally, they would receive goods, right? Like fruits or maybe pretzels or cookies, or if you're of age, maybe glasses of wine. But nowadays, it's easier to just settle for money. Another very interesting character associated with Christmas Eve, with the 24th of December, is of course Santa Claus. Now, Santa Claus is probably the most popular symbol of Christmas, but let's see how he started. Where did his story originate? We have on the left here a picture of Saint Nicholas. Now, Saint Nicholas is actually the person that inspired the figure of Santa Claus. Saint Nicholas came from a very wealthy family that died during an epidemic when he was young. He ended up using his inheritance and traveled through the countryside to help poor and sick children. His popularity started growing, and he quickly became known for his piety and kindness, with many legends tied to his story. Now, one of the best-known stories of Nicholas mentions him helping 3 poor sisters for being sold into slavery by giving them dowries so they could get married. It is said that the bags filled with riches had been tossed through the window, and they landed in the stockings and shoes left before the fire to dry, which can only be the origins of today's custom of hanging your stockings above the fireplace. Now, St. Nicholas became the bishop of joy, with the joy of giving. He is considered the protector of children and sailors, and his day is celebrated on the 6th of December, right? It is the anniversary of his death. He is considered one of the most popular saints in Europe. Now, in the 12th century, it was French nuns that still kept the tradition of St. Nicholas of giving gifts, and they were secretly leaving presents at the homes of poor children on the eve of St. Nicholas. This practice of gift giving has quickly spread out all throughout Europe, and today children will receive gifts, as you see here on the right, on the 6th of December and on the 25th of December. And that happens because initially Christmas markets started off as markets dedicated to St. Nicholas, and then after the Reformation, they evolved into being dedicated to Jesus Christ. So what did the people do? They kept both tradition of gift giving, right? Both for St. Nicholas and for Jesus Christ on the 25th. Now, the rise of the Protestant Reformation in the 16th century, as I said, they included the condemnation of the saints, right? St. Nicholas was no exception. They've condemned St. Nicholas too, started dedicating the markets to Jesus Christ, as you see here, but then they had another problem. They couldn't really use the baby Jesus Christ as the person to bring gifts because he was too little. So they started using St. Nicholas as Jesus Christ's helper. So he is the one that actually carries all of the gifts for children, with Jesus Christ leading. Nowadays, fast forward to the 18th century, this is a picture of Santa Claus as everyone knows him today. It was a newspaper in New York that reported that a group of Dutch families gathered together to celebrate Santa Claus, right? These are the very first accounts of Santa Claus making its way into the United States. And the name Santa Claus evolved from the Dutch nickname of Saint Nicholas, which is Sinterklaas, a shorter form of Saint Nicholas. He has become so popular that very few people actually know that Santa Claus actually originates from Saint Nicholas. You know this guy. I hope he was very generous and good to you on the 25th of December. And I am very curious to find out in the chat, what gifts did you receive this Christmas? Now, we have gone through a little bit of the history of the Christmas markets. Of course, there's always so much more to say, but we are ready to start with the 12 days of Christmas. So 25th of December, Christmas Day, this is the beginning of the little year. And the first lyric in my 12-day carol, which is the partridge and the pear tree. The symbolism of this lyric is Jesus Christ. Do pay attention to the symbolisms of that I share with you all along the way. They will help you with the quiz. So the partridge and the pear tree symbolizes the most important person in Christianity, and that's Jesus Christ. This also takes us to our very first Christmas market, and that's Strasbourg. Now, Strasbourg has been commonly known as the Capitale de Noël. That means Christmas capital. And I do have a video for you to share. This is not a video that belongs to me. It is, you've just seen the company that produced this video. And it takes you on a tour through the Strasbourg Christmas market. Now, this market has actually been around since 1570s. It was called Christkindlmarkt. That is its original name in Alsatian. You will see it written during this video too. And it's one of the oldest markets in Europe, the oldest market in France, and it takes place from the 29th of November until the 31st of December. Now, nativity traditions are very well developed in this area because of its proximity to Germany. You'll see even the houses look a lot more German than in the rest of France. Now, Germany and Alsatia, which is this region that border at the border of France and Germany, have equally beautiful Christmas markets. You'll find lots of local producers, craftsmen. All the decorations sold here are traditional and handmade, and it's just a joy to stroll the streets with a glass of blue wine or vin chaud or mulled wine. Vin chaud is in French, blue wine is in German, and just admire the wooden beamed houses all along the city. Now, this is the photo that Mara actually used for the description of this tour, and it's taken in Strasbourg. Strasbourg actually draws more than 2 million visitors every year as an attraction, and the place is well booked up in advance. In fact, Strasbourg and France have actually kept the Christmas markets this year. Some European countries, as you might know, like Germany, they canceled all of their Christmas markets. France decided to go on. I have actually went to visit the Christmas markets 3 weeks ago. And of course, the regulations were to be vaccinated. Your vaccine would be checked at the entrance to the market. Masks weren't everywhere. As far as I know, the people there were, the number of people that were there was about half of what it would normally be. And drinking and eating was done in specific areas. We are under a pandemic. It is COVID. So in a way, it does steal a little bit from the Christmas atmosphere because you cannot really stroll around holding a glass of glühwein or mulled wine in your hands. But I was really, really happy that they continued being organized and you could still enjoy the beautiful decorations, beautiful house and the streets in these medieval cities. Now, France, as I said, is home to many beautiful Christmas markets and located very close to Strasbourg, and also in the top that I shared with you at the beginning is Colmar. Colmar is a town located south of Strasbourg, very, very beautiful, known for the decorations, right? For the stuffed animals hanging outside of the windows. And people say sometimes that it's even better than Strasbourg. Now, in my opinion, they are similar, only that Colmar is much smaller and much more concentrated in a smaller area. So it's easier to stroll around and admire many different decorations. Now, they did call Strasbourg the capital of Noel, and they called Colmar l'âme de Noël, which means the heart of Christmas, right? So yeah, both of them are very charming. If you want to see a little bit of our experience, these are just some photos from some street views, some houses that we particularly enjoyed. And at the end, of course, some traditional, I wouldn't necessarily say Christmas treats, but I had to try the escargot or the French snails in the Alsatian sauce. They are served in every Christmas market. They're very common alongside with oysters, French onion soup, and of course, a beer. I don't know how well the beer goes with the French onion soup, but we did have to try because Christmas beers are a thing in France for at least. And every craft, like every beer producer will have its very own Christmas brew. What does it mean, Christmas brew? That the beer does have some Christmas spices, and the recipe for these spices, of course, differ from brewery to brewery. One thing that I wouldn't necessarily recommend is the mulled beer. It's not very common. We only found it in a single stall in one single Christmas market, and we were thinking, why isn't it the mulled beer more popular? And then we quickly found our answers when we had our first taste of the mulled beer. It's not as pleasant, does taste a little bit like medicine. So skip the mulled beer, just go for a cold beer if you're in the mood, and go straight for the mulled wine. All right. Second day of Christmas is the 26th of December, and we have come to the second lyric of the carol, Two Turtle Doves. They represent the Old and the New Testament. The 26th of December in Catholic religion is also St. Stephen's Day, which is the beginning of the working year, especially for domestic servants. And we need to talk, because we talked about Strasbourg, I want to talk a little bit about the Christmas tree and the decorations that adorn these beautiful giants, right? The first mention of a Christmas tree actually dates back to 1492 in Strasbourg. This is why I chose to talk about it here. Now, the custom spread through the Germanic area and then elsewhere in the 19th century. However, it is really due to the North American immigrants that came from the Alsatia region or from Germany, that the decorated tree became an established symbol of Christmas, right? Similar to Santa Claus too. Now you have here an illustration dating back to the 19th century. Christmas trees were originally placed only in public places, but they later entered the private homes where, due to the lack of space, they were either hanged from the ceiling or just placed on tables, such as this one that you see here. It was at the end of the 19th century that they made their way inside the living room. Now, traditionally, the fir trees were home decorated, right? You would use household items such as apples, walnuts, ribbons, communion wafers, sweets. Once every country started being more and more industrialized, you would also use figurines that were either in wood, maybe cloth, cardboard. With the appearance of electricity, right, you would have garlands. Initially, there were actual candles decorating the tree, and so on. it was at the beginning of the 1920s that the first artificial fir tree appeared. And in my opinion, I think we should go back to that artificial tree because it was actually made, the branches were made from goose feathers that were dyed green. Very environmental friendly, much better than the plastic artificial trees, I would say. We'll see if it makes its way, if this tradition makes its way back. And the second photo is actually the Christmas tree from this year's Strasbourg market, right? It is traditionally of imposing height. We make it a point to be the tallest Christmas tree in Europe. I do not know the exact height of this tree right now, but it was enormous and very, very beautifully decorated. Another thing that I would like to share with you that I found very interesting was the glass decorations and their origins, right? I did tell you that originally Christmas trees were adorned with very bright red apples and walnuts, but there was a draft, right, at the beginning in the 1850s. So people were unable to decorate their trees. They didn't have enough food to eat, so they couldn't necessarily waste it on decoration. So it was then that the glass makers came with an idea to produce glass apples, right? So that's how the glass decoration traditions started, and that's why they have mostly the round shape from the walnuts and from the apples. The production of glass decorations stopped in the 1960s when they were faced with the competition of the plastic-made ones that came from China. However, the tradition was revived at the beginning of the 1990s. And now, especially in the markets from France, Germany, in Western countries that do have a very strong Christmas tradition, all the craftsmen will sell handmade decorations. Plastic is, as much as possible, avoided. Now, on the 27th of December, we are celebrating St. John's Day. Now, until the 19th century, people wished each other the blessing of St. John and shared a glass of wine for good luck. The lyric in the carol is 3 French hands, which represent faith, hope, and charity. These are the theological virtues. You know, I would like to know, by the way, at the end of this tour, once you see the symbolism of each lyric, if you knew the symbolisms, and if you didn't, which one is your favorite? On the 27th of December, we are visiting the Nuremberg Christmas market. Now, this is a very, very beautiful and traditional Christmas market. And of course, I do have a video to share. This is one of Germany's oldest Christmas fairs. And it is organized in the main square of Nuremberg. It dates back to the mid-16th centuries. This video was actually shared in 2020 by the local administration in remembrance of the fact that they will not be organizing a Christmas market in 2020, but they did share footage from the 2019 one. Now, the Christmas market, as you see it today, it was started like this back in the 1933s when it was it was a very much romanticized event. They used an actress dressed up as a Christmas angel, just as you see in this video too. She was accompanied by 2 golden Christmas tree fairies, a children's choir, you know, everything. Now, since 1969, the tradition has been different. Every 2 years, a young Nuremberg woman between 16 or 19 is elected as Christkind or Christ child for a 2-year period. Nuremberg is known as the city with a lot of wooden booths, the little city of wooden cloth. You will find lots of traditional handmade Christmas decorations, sweet treats as the gingerbread that you saw in the video, the large gingerbread, and speculatius almond cookies. We'll speak about Christmas treats in just a little bit. We have arrived to the 28th of December, or today, and we're talking about 4 calling birds. That's the 4th lyric in the carol that represents the 4 gospels and or the 4 evangelists. Now, the 20th of December also marks the Holy Innocents' Day, which was formerly a fertility feast. It featured quite a strange costume in which young men would touch village girls with a stick. It is also thought that the children who died on this day without being baptized would come back to haunt their village in search of redemption. That's why it's called the Holy Innocents' Day. We are going to talk a little bit now about mysterious Christmas characters. And do let me know if you've ever heard of either Hans Trapp or Krampus. Now, these are very big European characters. They are a little bit more aggressive than what you would expect from a Christmas character, but they do have their origins in the Middle Ages. Now, the first one is the Hans Trapp. According to Alsatian lore, Alsatia being the region in France that we talked about at the beginning, the Hans Trapp was actually a local man renowned for his greed and unscrupulousness. He actually used witchcraft, deals with the devil to become rich. After being excommunicated from the Catholic Church, he lost his wealth and social standing. He took to roaming the countryside disguised as a scarecrow. Now, if you do not identify him, he is the one here on the left. Now, at some point, the Hans Trapp, this is actually a photo from Strasbourg taken this year, with the story being projected on a building for all the children attending the Christmas market. So the Hans Trapp became consumed with the idea, when he was still alive, with the idea of tasting human flesh. He actually lured a shepherd boy to his death, then cooked him over the fire. Before the Hans Trapp could take his first bite, God decided the things have gone too far, and he struck him by lightning. Now, even though Hans Trapp died, the legend says that he returns sometimes on Christmas to go from door to door looking for young, tasty, naughty children. So this is a story that French children will hear on their Christmas Eve when they wait for Santa. The other character that I wanted to talk about, and he looks quite scary to me, is the Krampus. Now, this tradition happens in Austria, Slovenia, Croatia, and northern Italy. So it's not found all throughout Europe. Now, in many other European countries, St. Nicholas has also companions that act as a negative counterpart. Saint Nick is actually a benevolent good cop, whereas the Krampus is the bad cop. You do not want to meet the bad cop. The Krampus is a particularly bad one because it's a demonic half-goat monster with horns and a very long tongue. He drags chains behind him as he walks and rattles them ominously. He carries a birch with which he whips bad children and sometimes a basket to kidnap them. It's on the eve of St. Nicholas, right? So on December 5th that the Krampus, hordes of Krampuses, marched through Alpine towns in the countries that I've mentioned before in elaborate, very sinister costumes. In recent years, the Krampuses do have a tendency to go on drunken rampages, getting in fights, destroying property, and this has become a bit of a problem. Now, I do have an experiences with Krampus in Austria back in 2010. I was actually really scared of them. It was in the evening, it was a Christmas market. They came out in a truck and they started going wild on the crowd. So initially I thought it was just for the show, but then they really started whipping people in the crowd and everyone would disperse, would just be scared, hiding behind buildings. And the whipping was not just for the show, like pretending to hit you. No, they would actually really, really hit you. So that kind of left me a little bit in shock because it was the very first time that I have seen tradition taken this far. But I think this was more of the exception rather than the rule because even in Romania, we do have masks such as this one used for Christmas traditions, and they are normally out there to said to protect you against evil spirits, right? Or to scare you into becoming a better human, I guess. The 29th of December, we have reached our fifth lyric, and that's 5 golden rings. The 5 golden rings represent the first 5 books of the Old Testament. You know, the Pentateuch, which gives the history of man's fall from grace. And we have also reached Czech Republic. We've left France, we've left Germany. We are now in Czech Republic, and we are visiting its capital's Christmas market, and that's in Prague. Now, Prague is actually one of the most fairy tale cities in Europe, and its Christmas market is one of the most sought after today. The markets consist of, decorated wooden huts that sell traditional handicrafts, glassware, jewelry, embroidered lace, wooden toys, ceramics, scented candles, pretty much similar to other European Christmas markets. Hats, gloves, scarves, Christmas tree decorations. But what really stands out in these Christmas market, and what is a little bit different from Christmas market to Christmas market, it's the food, right? You will always taste mouth-watering local and traditional foods, sweets, plenty of hot spiced wine to keep you warm. And the main reason for which tourists have started liking Prague Christmas market more than maybe France or German ones was the fact that it's not as big. Some people will say that it has a more authentic Christmas atmosphere because it's smaller and not as crowded. From the 29th of December, we are going into the 30th of December, closely approaching the end of the year. 6 geese are laying, which represents the 6 days of creation, right? And we have come to, as I said at the beginning, my favorite part, that's food and drinks and Christmas treats. I have actually found online a very interesting map on the website Taste Atlas. I can share this with you at the end if you want to look at it more closely, but it's actually a map of the traditional Christmas cake in each country. So we have here, for example, in Romania, Cozonac, or we have Bûche de Noël in France, or we have Stollen in Germany. It's a very, very cool map to check out what, where your Christmas cookies took inspiration from, so to say, and what other countries are having for their Christmas meal. Some of the most popular Christmas treat, of course, is gingerbread. Now, this gingerbread, this delicacy, because I do think it's a delicacy, was found in Western Europe, starting with the 13th and 14th century, right? It did start in 4 German cities initially, one of which was Nuremberg. And because spices in those times came from very, very far away, gingerbread was reserved for very well-to-do families. They were classed as very big presents to give out. It was a luxury. It was considered a luxury gift to give among friends for formal visits, or maybe to gift it to your sweetheart. It was only from the 16th century that it became customary to give gingerbread to children on Christmas Day or on St. Nicholas Day. These are in the shape of St. Nicholas, right, or Santa Claus, of German inspiration. But gingerbread takes so many different shapes today. As you well know, that decorating gingerbread has become sort of a competition. I have chosen 4 different Christmas treats in my personal top, and that's the Beraveka. Beraveka is a fruit cake located in France, specifically in Alsatia. It does consist of candied dried fruits, all put together. It's not very doughy, so it's very sweet and very concentrated and caramelized. Then we have the bredele. Bredele is a French Christmas cookie. They are little shortbreads, right? Biscuits with a wide variety of ingredients. They can be, either covered in powdered almond or in powdered sugar. They could have cinnamon, aniseed, hazelnuts, all sorts of jams, all sorts of There are so many different recipes and variations among bakers that it's very hard to pinpoint just certain specific popular bredele. Then the other one is the stollen. The stollen is a rich, dense, and very sweet cake-like bread. Different from the verabeka, the one above. It's filled with dried fruits, with candied citrus peels, nuts. It has a very dense butter and sugar coating on top of it. And this holds all of the different flavors together. And lastly, we have the gingerbread. We did speak about the Nuremberg gingerbread. Don't be fooled about this, the photo. The gingerbread that you see here is actually the size of my hand, if not bigger. They are known for their very delicious gingerbread. If you've ever visited Nuremberg, do let me know if you've tasted this particular variety. We've started with the sweets because, let's be honest, Christmas time is the time where everyone gets a very strong sugar rush pretty much every day. But I do have a taste for savory treats too. And this is a photo taken from a Romanian Christmas market. It's not from Bucharest, but it does represent Romanian foods that you will be served at a market. And in particular, kidney bean soup with pork knuckles or sausages. Do notice the meat hanging above. Now, you do know European countries are meat-eating countries. We do have the habit of slaughtering a pig for Christmas. This tradition has been kept very much alive, particularly in Eastern European countries and in the countryside. But there are so many different recipes of cured meats, sausages, and smoked meats too. Now, this is the perfect definition of a comfort food, right? If you're in a very cold Christmas market, the kidney bean soup will heat you up very nicely. Honoring the pig or pig's alms is actually the first meal that you prepare after slaughtering the pig. And it's the meal that honors the pig that will end up feeding the family for the year to come, because that's how the tradition developed. You would raise that pig during spring, summer, and autumn, slaughter it for Christmas, for the most important celebration of the year, alongside with Easter, and then eat from that pig all throughout the next year. This is pretty much just pork meat cooked in a cauldron in its own fat. If you're in the mood of something cold, like a cold appetizers, there are so many variations of what you could do with pork meat. Now, a particular one is this one in the middle. It's kind of like a gelatin cured meat treat. We call it toba. Toba is actually means drum. And it's made with the pork's ears and some parts of the animal stomach, maybe some other organs, all boiled up and served with mustard. Is absolutely delicious. Now, another delicious pork treat. Now, I'm really sorry, in case you do not eat meat, I am not trying to, overstep any boundaries. These are traditional meals served for Christmas, and pork is huge. As opposed to any other type of meat like chicken or beef, pork is the one that's commonly consumed over Christmas. These are crispy pork lard, or jumări as we call them in Romanian. They are pretty much fried pieces of pork skin with fat and meat at the same time. And lastly, I do want to share a photo of big bread. It is a braided bread from Bucovina. Bucovina is a region in the northern of Romania. They are shaped to look like the sun or maybe like the moon. And there are so many traditions related to it. They'll keep it until spring, and then they'll feed it to their animals. So the animals will have a good year. They will use this to bless the agricultural works in the field too, keep it around the house. So many different beliefs. On the 31st of December, we have arrived at the seventh lyric, and that's seven swans a swimming, and that represents the seven gifts of the Holy Spirit, or the seven sacraments. Now, the 31st of December is actually also Saint Sylvester's, or New Year's Eve. One thing that I want to share here about New Year's Eve, you do know that nowadays we celebrate it by throwing out fireworks or firecrackers. This tradition started in the 19th century, so it's not very old. The new year was greeted with gunshots, which were replaced with the fireworks and the firecrackers. We are visiting now Austria, and the first market that we'll see in Austria is the Salzburg Christmas market. Now, Salzburg Christmas Market is one of Austria's oldest Advent markets. It is, at the heart of the old city in Salzburg, which is part of the UNESCO World Heritage. It does have traditional skins, just like the one that you saw in Germany or in France or in Czech Republic. This market has existed the way it looks today since 1974. Of course, the original market was here from much earlier than that. And there are local folk costumes. People go out to sing carols. Children can attend a petting farm, right? So local producers or farm workers will bring their animals for children to play with, and the nativity scene, lots of workshops, the traditional Christmas cookies, and that's the hand of a Krampus. Now you'll get to see a little bit of their tradition, what we talked about. They're coming out, whipping their wooden branches, always coming out at night, right? So not necessarily during the day, to scare the children right before they go to bed and pray for better deeds in the new year. So yeah, Salzburg is a very charming, very unique atmosphere. The Krampus tradition, even though a little bit scary, is very interesting to see and to witness. And I would say Austria is the country to go and see this happening. The 1st of January, the first day of the year, our lyric is 8 maids a milking, which represent the 8 Beatitudes. Now, the Beatitudes are 8 blessings, which were recounted by Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount in the Gospel of Matthew. There is a lot more that I could talk about this here, but if you're interested in specifically finding out which are the 8 Beatitudes, do ask me at the end in the Q&A. Now, the new year will also come with the people's desire to find out what's going to happen to them in the new year. How's the future going to look like? People have been trying to predict the weather ever since the beginning of times, right? On the 1st of January, we also celebrate Saint Basil, or Vasile, which is the Romanian name that derives from the word basil. It is a very important tradition in Romanian culture, not just in Romanian culture, in other European cultures too, because, the amount of wine that you drink during this day will tell you how much vigor you'll actually have for the rest of the year. I'm not really sure who came up with this, but it must have been a very cold winter that pushed them to adopt this tradition to drink lots of wine on the 1st of January, because you'll have a very healthy year ahead. Now, it is said that on the night between the years, the sky opens up and God can receive your prayer. Saint Basil actually took a bell, tied it to a basil twig, and then used it to direct your wishes to God. Now, of course, hearing of this, all of the Romanians tried to follow suit. And now we do use a lot of basil in a lot of religious celebrations. You'll see why later. that's a representation of the tradition I told you about earlier. Now, custom also has it that on the New Year's, you also have to wear new clothes, right? If you want to have a prosperous new year, you have to be all dressed up. Now, the clothes that you see here are traditional clothes, right? Handmade. I have a feeling that this tradition actually helped a lot of fashion retail stores over the year. It's also very wise on this day to have as much money on you as possible. It's bad luck to borrow or lend money in the days around New Year's, so you don't end up without them. In some areas, women will actually bake a bread in which they hide coins, and the person who finds the coins in this piece of bread will have luck or, for the rest of the year. And of course, you do know this tradition. Red is the color of cheer and love, and it is a tradition to wear something red on you on the night between the years. Now, green can complement red as it symbolizes rebirth and a new beginning, as you can see from here, right? Red and green, all the decorations revolve around these two colors. Another popular tradition, although it's a little bit more macabre, is charcoal prediction. Before going to bed, you would take as many pieces of charcoal from the stove as your family members, and you would name them. It is said that whichever charcoal burns out first will be the first one to die. And because I told you about our need to predict the weather, this is a calendar. We call it the onion calendar, and the way it works is like this. You take out a peel, like a piece of the onion, put some salt, attribute one piece of the onion to each month, put salt inside, and you see on some months it'll be more wet, on others it will be more dry. So that's how you know if you're going to face a drought or not during the agricultural year, or how much rainfall you will have. On the second day of the year, we are talking about the 9 ladies dancing, which represent the 9 fruits of the Holy Spirit. Now, the 9 fruits of the Holy Spirit are actually considered to be love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Now, all of these words do originate from Greek traditions. From Salzburg, we are traveling to Vienna. We're still in Austria. Vienna is the capital of Austria, and we are visiting its Christmas market. Now, today, the Vienna Christmas market is one of the most beautiful ones in Europe. There are some mentions, as I said, that Vienna would be one of the oldest markets in Europe, dating back to the 13th century, but those are false. Those were just producers' markets, but not necessarily Christmas markets, right? It was started much, much later in the 16th century as a specific Christmas market, and it continued to be moved around town until it found the place where it is traditionally held today, which is in front of the city hall. This is a very nice song, so I'll let you enjoy it for a little bit.
Christmas, I only wanna be close to you. Hey.
The Vienna Christmas market actually has amazing food stalls, amazing hot drinks, and very awesome holiday atmosphere. Lots of activities dedicated to children, where they can make their very own Christmas treats, as you see from the ending of this video. Right, so here we'll talk on the 3rd of January about the 10 Lords of Leaping, or the 10 Commandments, which I'm very sure you all already know, but we are also going to talk about animal masks and dances, because these are some of the most archaic traditions that celebrate New Year's, not just in Romania, but in all European countries. For each European country, there is a masked animal or mask dance specific to their culture. I have decided to share with you the bear dance. This is found only in Moldova, which is the eastern region of Romania. And I wanted to share it with you because it's also one of the more spectacular dances that I have ever seen. Because we do have a large population of wild bears in these areas, the bear is one of the most worshipped animals in the world. This worship dates back to ancient and prehistoric times. And in the Romanian territories, we know that our ancestors, the Dacians, they regarded this as a very sacred animal, and their central deity also translates as bear skins. Now, they also believed, this ancient people also believed that the bears form the pillars of the earth and have connected the myth to the two well-known constellations, Ursa Major or Ursa Minor, or the Big Dipper and the Small Dipper, right? We have different names for it. Now, the bear is perceived as the one that regulates the season. This is a video. It's a very, very loud video. The song is very striking. It does have, ritualic powers. And do notice the dance, right? Because the bear is the one that regulates the season through its hibernating habit, right? So let's see. The bear dance symbolizes the death and rebirth of nature. The show starts with the bears rolling in a circle, they're being beaten, eventually dying. Which is this ritual right here. And then they are brought back to life using the wooden stick that you see the center person carrying. And they are lifted to the sky with this wooden stick. This metaphor actually, as I said, represents the successions of the season, closely tied to this animal because he is capable of defeating winter, right? Going into hibernation and coming back alive during spring. You see them holding up their paws to represent their ascension to the sky. These are actually bear skins. They are real, but they have been passed down for 4 generations. Today, of course, hunting bears is prohibited, and you cannot get new skins unless you make them out of a different material. Now, the bear dance is almost a shamanic ritual, as I've said, and the dancers have this in their blood, especially the ones from these areas. The dances do offer a little bit of fascination and a little bit of fear on the onlooker. The purpose of it was to scare evil spirits, so I guess they're doing a great job. Now, another masked animal dance is the goat dance. Now, opposed to the bear dance, which is a little bit more aggressive, the goat dance is a little bit more lively. The goat dance is considered to be the one that holds up all of the other animal traditions, and it is practiced all over the country. Now, I have a different video for you from the countryside. The dances can take longer. This is a very short video, but in large, just so you get an idea, the goat dance is a little bit more structured in the sense that the goat talks to its owner. She falls ill in a way. She talks because the lower part of the jaw is mobile, right? So the person inside the costume will manage it. So yeah, she falls ill. That creates panic for the shepherd, the one that takes care of the goats. And after speaking with the animal, the goat comes back to life. And the livestock was a very important part of livelihood of shepherds and people living in the countryside. So that's what it represents. And the third dance that I wanted to share is the horse dance. Now, this is a very popular dance also in Bucovina, similar to the bear dance, and it represents a cavalry formation. These traditions, unfortunately, they are not as common anymore. You do have to travel deep in the countryside to still see them in practice. The very lively rhythm of the music is also specific to the eastern part of Romania. I guess you get a general idea. But from this part of Romania, we are going to travel to its capital. We are on the 4th of January. We're on our 11th lyric already, 11 pipers piping, which represent the 11 faithful apostles of Jesus. And we have here a photo of the Bucharest Christmas market in front of the Palace of the Parliament. Now, if you ever find yourself in Bucharest, this is the heaviest building in the world and the second largest after the Pentagon. If you want to find out more, I do share information about it in other tours that I have done with Mara, either about Bucharest or Romania in general. And this is the Christmas tree. Now, this photo was taken in 2019. And I do have to tell you that Christmas markets in Romania in general do not have the big tradition of the other European countries, right? Romania is an Orthodox country. All of the other countries that we've passed through today are either Catholic or Protestant in their majority. And Christmas traditions have started in the Middle Ages in these, like in Catholic or Protestant groups. Now, the Orthodox have always been more conservative, so to say, with these types of traditions, but the tradition, like the dance that I've showed you earlier, have their origin into pagan traditions, right? So dating back to ancient people, or the Dacians or the Romans and so on. So the Christmas markets in Romania have adopted a lot of foreign vibe, so to say, like with the Christmas tree, Christmas decorations, and so on. Our regular Christmas traditions are much more agricultural, so to say, pagan in a way, much more mysterious, much more not misunderstood, but mystical, right? They are related to the movement of the stars, to the movement of the sun, of how light wins over the night, and so on. I do have a video to share with you to the Christmas market in Bucharest in 2019. They have the stalls were reserved only by local craftsmen and producers, so locally crafted decorations, foods, treats, ceramics, wooden objects, gingerbread, of course. It's Transylvania from all of the regions of Romania that do keep a more Germanic, that have Transylvania has a Germanic influence, and that's where you will find a more Germanic influence. Sibiu, the town that made the list of the best Christmas markets in 2019, is from Transylvania. The biggest market was in Bucharest, which served a lot of traditional food, and I said traditional decorations. But unfortunately, this year they didn't organize it in the same place again because of its larger nature, right? They decided to do it in a much smaller square so that they could control the number of the people going inside. And we are slowly approaching the end of our tour. We are on the 5th of January, the last day of the 12 days of Christmas. 12 drummers drumming, which represents the 12 points of doctrine in the Apostles' Creed. Now, this is also the last day of the little year, which marks the Epiphany on the 6th of January, or as we call it in Romania, Bobotează. Bobotează means, in direct translation, the day when Jesus Christ was baptized. Is the revelation of Christ, so to say. Different cultures have it on different dates, but have different holidays and different dates, but they all celebrate the Epiphany, the day when Jesus Christ was baptized in the water of Jordan by John the Baptist on the same day. So many traditions are related to the Epiphanies associated with the Epiphany. Now, it is also the day when the priests will bless the water around the country by dipping holy basil, right? This is basil, and the cross in it, purifying the water so that people can actually use it to splash their homes in order to get rid of evil spirits, in order to get rid of the devil's presence and to bring good spirits and prosperity to the household. Not only that, the water becoming holy was also considered a medicine. So people will take water, holy water, every day if they're ill and if they're trying to cure themselves. This is another photo of an older priest doing the same thing, getting the water holy. Sometimes people will put the holy water in different containers around the house. So be very, very careful. One year, something bad happened. One person did confuse his gas container. He thought it was holy water inside, and he ended up burning his house down. Now, there are two different traditions that women and men practice differently. Women, during the baptism, during the Epiphany, they'll place holy basil under their pillow in hopes that they will dream of their future husband. These are the men during the Epiphany. They'll dive in very, very cold, freezing water to catch the cross during the competition, and whoever catches the cross is said to have the best year of his life. Now, we call this Bobotează, or the Epiphany versus the ice bucket challenge. In areas where you have rivers or you have bodies of water, the priest will also purify those as well, because they are important to the livelihood of the people, so that all evil spirits will be trapped inside if the water is frozen. Now, in order to have the highest rate of success, what do the priests do? They'll throw in the water 3 wooden crosses. One is for the Father, one is for the Son, and one is for the Holy Spirit. As such, men will try to compete to get these crosses out of the freezing water. The one that catches it will have good fortune, will win the lottery, will have no disease or illness for the rest of his life. And this is how it goes. On one of the coldest days of the years, the priest will go out with half-naked men that get ready to throw themselves into the water. They are actually murmuring the Apostles' Creed, right? The last day from the 12 days of Christmas. All of them still alive, and they will swim all the way to where the priest has thrown the cross and the water. There goes another one, and they'll try to make their way back to the shore, hopefully without hypothermia. Sometimes these events are very tragic, as you can see. The cross can end up in your head, but don't worry, no deaths have been reported so far. So this is also the day of John the Baptist, as I've mentioned, and a lot of people born on this day will have the name John. Now, if you are lucky and your name is John, maybe your neighbors or your family will carry you to the nearest body of water and have you take a bath to commemorate this epiphany. So thank you for being with me tonight. This is the end of our Christmas Markets in Europe tour. We have traveled together from France all the way to Romania. As you can see, Eastern Europe does have a much richer, controversial folklore, and I did want to leave you on a funnier note, so to say. So yeah, I am ready for your questions.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Georgiana. Actually, for me, I have to say, I don't know if I'm the only one, but I didn't know the history behind the 12 days of Christmas. So I'm pretty interested to learn that, and I can't wait to actually go and look up more of that myself, because I didn't catch every single one of them as I was answering questions and trying to navigate that. So that was pretty interesting to me. I love the different traditions in the different markets. I think that's one of the things I look forward to, because for us, most of us who haven't been there, they all kind of look similar. Lots of lights, yes, lots of food, lots of goods, but to understand the differences of the culture is really, I think, the benefit of experiencing the markets. So for those of you, thank you very much for attending. We will go into a Q&A. I did put up a slide for those of you who wish to leave a tip. You can use Venmo, you can use PayPal, and there is a link on my website to a secure credit card. If you are using a credit card, there's two little buttons. Please click on the button next to the credit card images so that it goes through more easily. I know that people from outside of the United States have an issue with that sometimes. You just have to click on the credit card pictures to make that go through. So thank you for that. I have a list of my upcoming tours. I have a really good outlook for 2022, and I really do believe that travel will start again with some stringent guidelines, which I think everybody who wants to travel is okay with complying with these guidelines. But I do think that the tide is turning for us, and the borders are going to open more easily for us as long as we follow the rules of the countries in order to enter and to go into the restaurants and museums and everything else. So look on the right-hand side of the slide and you'll see that we have a lot of tours, European tours, river cruises, all kinds of different tours coming up. So if you want to join us, please drop me a line or an email to marawalsh@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to talk to you about joining us on one of our tours. And if there is not a tour on the list that you're comfortable with, I'm happy to plan a tour for you so that you can get connected with another group or go on your own to a place. So that digression should have given Georgiana enough time to look at the questions. And I'm going to hand it back over to you, Georgiana, if you want to start at the top, and we'll go through some of these questions and try to clarify some of the things that people have seen during today's presentation. Are you ready?
Yes. One thing that I forgot to mention, do not forget about the quiz if you're interested in spicing up your experience tonight, your virtual experience. You want to get more interactive with us, do click the link that Mara is going to share in the chat. And yes, I am ready to go into the questions. So I have here, why is one Advent candle pink? No reason. I think the candles can have different colors. Did those 4 candles stay lit the whole time, or were they just lit for each Sunday? So you would like one for each Sunday. I think traditionally, yes, ideally you would keep them lit, but I'm not sure if that's something that most of the people are comfortable with nowadays. I've been to some of the Easter markets. Do the Christmas markets tend to be bigger? I don't know. I guess it depends on the locations, but yes, Christmas markets do tend to take over most of the squares in a bigger city. So, for example, Strasbourg or most of the cities that I mentioned tonight, they will not just have one Christmas market. Each city has different squares located in the old town, and each square will have its own Christmas market. I didn't know them. Okay, what do the Orthodoxists do during the Nativity fast? How severe is it? So yeah, if you want to keep the whole fast, the Orthodox will keep it much more strict. So for example, I know that Catholics, if they do not want to eat meat, they are allowed, say there was meat in the soup, they are allowed to eat the soup without the meat, but it doesn't matter that the meat was cooked in the soup, even if you didn't eat the meat. Now for Orthodox, for example, the meat cannot be cooked in the soup. Like the soup has, if it touched any of the meat or egg or whatever that came from an animal, you're not allowed to eat it. So in this sense, it's stricter. Are the markets just in one square of a city, all over a city in different areas? I think I've just replied that. Happy holidays to you too, Lynn from Fontana. Can we get the recipe for mulled wine again? Yes, so I will share that slide with Mara, and I know she does a follow-up email, so you'll get it in the email. I am a glass blower. I live in Wisconsin. Yes, well, do let me know if you do any glass decorations too. What is the symbol behind the 5 gold rings? I think it is the 5 books of the Old Testament. Can you talk about the nativity scene that are highly detailed and extensive and sometimes include modern touches? Sorry, I think I lost this question. Or are these only found in Italy? I'm not exactly sure what I need to talk about here. The nativity scenes will come in different shapes and forms according to the producer's imagination, I guess, and creativity. So yes, I don't think they're only found in Italy. I have seen some very detailed ones in France too, or in Germany. So I think it depends. How early do you need to book a room in one of the hotels at most of the Xmas markets? Is one more economical than other? Yeah, so for example, in Strasbourg, I know that people will book their hotels 1 year in advance during the Christmas market. Now with the pandemic, I think a lot of people will tend to do last minute reservations. It's something that I cannot tell you how is it going to be next year. But until now, the reservations had to be done well in advance. What was the pastry everyone was walking around with? I'm not sure which pastry you might be referring. It could be gingerbread, it can be Christmas cookies. In the goat dance video, there are a number of ladies dressed alike. What do they represent? So those ladies were probably inhabitants of the household. They were dressed in traditional folk costumes, and they tend to look alike. So those are just celebratory costumes. Are all these dances specific to Christmas or other occasions too? No, they are specific to winter holidays. So the time between Christmas and New Year's. In Romania, have some of the traditions been influenced by the gypsy culture? No, I would say the gypsy dances have been influenced by pagan origins much earlier than that. What is the name of the building behind the skating rink? So the skating ring that was shown at the end in Bucharest, the name of the building is Palace of the Parliament. Were Christmas markets allowed during communism? No, I don't think they were very popular because communists are atheists, so they were not encouraged. How, I'm not sure I understand this question. How did 5 days of Christmas begin? Thank you so much, Mara and Georgiana. Wishing you a healthy and happy new year. I knew none of this. Well researched. Thank you very much, Diana. Are the markets good both before and after the 25? Yes. So most of the Christmas markets will go until the 1st of January. Why is that religion is still preserved in East European countries than in France? Religion is preserved both in East European countries and France too. It's just a different religion. Let's say if we compare Romania to France, Romania is Orthodox, France is Catholic. But yeah. Could we have the food map, please? Yes, so I will share the mulled wine and the food map with Mara, and she'll have it in the follow-up email. So most of the markets that are more particular square of the city, no, not necessarily. The biggest Christmas market will be in the biggest square of the city, but the city will have several Christmas markets. Do they have markets in Poland? Yes, they do. They do have Christmas markets in Poland. Thank you for the tour. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for attending. How do we get the complete list of the 12 days and what they mean? I can also share that slide with Mara and she can share it with you. I noticed you skipped over a lot of facts of how Christmas began as Yule, a pagan holiday. I suppose my question is why not expound on those? I only have an hour and a half. So I do have to be very, very short with the information that I present. Of course, there's so much more that you could talk about Christmas traditions, about its origins, but the time is very short. So my objective was to give you an overview of some of the best Christmas markets, some of the most known traditions, and a little bit behind them. And that's the time that we had available. Happy birthday, Georgiana. Thank you very much. Which is your favorite of the 12 days of Christmas? It's the 28th of December because it's my birthday. No, not necessarily. I do enjoy winter holidays. So I do enjoy the 12 days starting on the 25th of December, going all the way on the 6th of January, because 6th of January is also my mom's birthday. So, you know, it all comes together nicely. Thank you so much for all your kind words. Really, really awesome feedback from everyone. So, you know, I do like Christmas market. Who doesn't like Christmas markets, to be honest? But I have visited enough throughout Europe, so it was very fun doing this tour. How how could it be to live around the whole Europe? Is this Christmas tour only a river cruise tour? I think that is something that Mara will answer. Does the visit of the Magi to the infant Jesus and their gifts have a place in European traditions? Yes, it does. It does have. It is represented smaller than other traditions, so I did keep my focus only on the bigger, most important ones. Okay, I think, Mara, you do have a few that are addressed to you. Some people saying something about PayPal. Okay.
I'll answer the questions about the Christmas markets tour that
Yeah.
I was discussing for 2022 while you look through the questions. The Christmas market tour that I'm doing in 2022 is a river cruise. I'm using Alma Waterways, which is the cruise line, and there are 100 and oh my gosh, my brain just stopped. I believe it's 156 passengers or something on the boat. That will not only be my group, but it will be mostly my group. If you are interested in that tour, please email me at marawalsh@gmail.com. If you want to do another Christmas markets tour, you don't have to do a river cruise. You can do a land tour. You can stay in one city. You can go from city to city. There are tons of options for you, and I'd be happy to walk through them with you. PayPal, if you're looking to do it directly with PayPal, the person that's having a question with that, you can go directly to PayPal, and my email, marawalsh@gmail.com, will point you to the right place to leave that tip. Yes, you can click on sending it to friends and family. That avoids any fees that would be charged back to me. So I would appreciate that in the tipping. Was that it, Georgiana, for those questions?
Yeah, yes, so far. There are
Okay.
a lot of questions, and there's something that I've learned from the questions, actually, because there was a question with the pink candle, and the pink candle, some people have answered, stands for Gaudete Sunday, the joy of the season, the third Sunday in the Advent. That's something that I did not know. So thank you for sharing that.
I've also heard that the pink candle represents Mary. So there's plenty of, maybe we should do some research on what that pink candle actually represents, because we have about 4 choices, I think.
Yes. Sorry, where was the main picture taken again? It was taken in Strasbourg, France. Sure. This was my first experience with you. Very interesting. Happy New Year to you and yours. Happy New Year to you too. Let's see.
It looks like we've gotten all the questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see a lot of good feedback. I don't see that many more.
Well, I know one piece of feedback from me and from everybody else is that we are all hungry now, whether it's morning and we need the gingerbread with our coffee, or it's evening and we need it as a dessert. I know that I have to detox after January 1, but for now, I think I'm going to go and try to find some Christmas cookies to feel as though I'm in a European market. And I know a couple people that are traveling with me actually left some comments on how are we going to get all of this stuff home. We obviously will have to bring an extra bag. I know that when I travel, one of the tips I always leave for my travelers is put a nylon bag in the bottom of your suitcase empty when you go, and then fill that up with dirty laundry so that you can protect all your goods that you buy in your hard suitcase for the way home. So that's what I intend to do when I visit the Christmas markets next year. Thank you very much, Georgiana, for weaving together the history, the culture, the religion, the fun Christmas facts, and all of it together for us to get a better understanding of what the Christmas markets are and how we experience them in Europe. And please have a wonderful birthday night for the hours that you have left. We will be back here in the new year. This is our last virtual tour for 2021. So everybody have a happy new year, and we will see you next week. Take care.
Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you for joining tonight.